What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and in today's episode of the fighting game tutorial series, we are going to be going over cleaning up our game mode part 3. So continuing along, the last few episodes have been about cleaning up our code and blueprints before we go into more complicated systems like online play, rollback netcode, and AI. These are systems that we started, but before we get into the real logic of these systems, I want to make sure that the rest of our code is ready to handle it. And all of this cleanup we've been doing all these previous episodes is really going to make sure that we are ready for that. So we have a little bit more to do. We're working on the game mode, about to be finished with this. And then we have the animation blueprint as well. And I would like to do some with hitboxes too. And then we should be ready somewhere around there. But by the end of this episode, we'll have more blueprint functions converted to code and more of the game mode cleaned up. So if you want to check out the rest of the series before checking out this episode, you can see how we've done things like our attacks, our different combo states, our round timer, and a lot more. I'll link you to the entire playlist in the top right corner right here. Alternatively, if you're just interested in cleaning up your game mode, you don't have to watch the entire series for that, but I do recommend you watch some of the other game mode episodes that we've done. That way you have a starting point and you can go from there and see why what we're doing now is an improvement to it. With this out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. So this is a code and blueprint tutorial series. Again, we're going to be cleaning logic up, so mainly it's going to be converting blueprint logic to code. So to start, we want to go into our blueprint game modes. So content blueprints, functional BPs, game modes, default game mode BP. Now we still have a lot of blueprint logic in the event graph that we will want to convert, but in today's episode specifically, I want to focus on the functions. We can convert all of these functions from blueprints to code, but spawn players will be the most complicated of them to do, so I'm going to skip that one for now. Determine character class will be pretty simple to handle, however, it does include references to our character blueprints, and so it's going to be a little bit more work. The easiest of these two is going to be determine match winner and determine force palette adjust. And then we'll tackle these two together because they are heavily linked anyway. So first things first, let's go to determine match winner. So this is the function that occurs when either the time has run out or a character was defeated and the round ends. Once the round ends, we have to determine if someone has won the match or not. If they haven't, then great, we start a new round. But if they have, we have to determine which character won. So the logic here is pretty simple. We are checking our active characters. Remember that we support tag mode now, so it's not just one character, but whatever the active character is for team 1. We're checking the number of rounds that they won, seeing if it's greater than or equal to our num rounds variable on our game mode. Num rounds is the variable that holds the number of rounds that this match will require to be won to win the match. So if the character won this many or more rounds, then we say true, that active team 1 character has won the match. So we want to do the logic for that character winning the match. And then I am also returning the winner index back to whatever is calling this function. If team 1 is the winner of this match, we're passing back 0. We're just starting at index 0. If this is false, this means we have to check team 2 character, so active team 2 character, rounds 1, greater than or equal to num rounds, and if this one is true, we say active team 2 character won the match, and then we return winner index of 1. If this also returns false, we return a winner index of -1. -1 is going to indicate we don't have a winner yet. We don't want to win the match for any team or end the match at all, we're going to continue. The other one that we have here is determine force palette adjust. And what this one is doing is checking if both the characters are the same type, or basically they are the same character. So in our game, we have the mannequin, the mutant, and the vanguard. Say we have 2 mutants. We continue along here, and we also check if they have the same skin on. If they have the same skin on, then we apply a little effect to the second character so that they don't look identical, and you can tell a difference between the characters while they are the same character and the same skin. But if they're not the same character, we don't adjust the palette. If they are the same character but they're not the same skin, we don't adjust the palette. But if they are both, we do adjust the palette. So these are the functions we're going to be converting. Let's head over to the code and start porting them. Now once we're in the code, we want to go to our fighter template game mode.h, and we can scroll down to our functions here. And I'll go down to below my blueprint callable functions. We'll leave a comment here, determine the winner of the match. And in parentheses, I will say -1 means indicates there is not a winner. And this was called bool determine match winner, but the problem with this, if we call it the same thing, is the blueprint logic may get confused. It's okay if you want to call it this for now. We just have to be careful and make sure we replace the function in the blueprint if we're doing this. And we want to make it a U property that is blueprint callable, just in case we do want to be able to call it from the blueprint. If you know you don't have to make it U property. Then we can say determine if the palette should be forcibly adjusted to distinguish characters. Bool determine force palette adjust. And actually, I am going to name this one different while we're here. Forcibly swap to distinguish characters. And I'm going to change this to determine force palette swap. So I think that makes more sense when you're reading through it over palette adjust, even though it really is the same thing. And so we can go up here and make it U property. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to assume that we will want to call this in the blueprint, but if you know you don't, you can remove it. We can always remove it later. Now we can go to where we want to make this function. I will go below trigger match win effects in the CPP. So fighter template game mode CPP. This will do, so void a fighter template game mode, : determine match winner. And it's not void, actually. These are both bool. Neither of these should be void. Forgive me for that. Let's go back to the header file. Make sure these are both booleans, which they are here. So bool a fighter template game mode : determine match winner. Then below this, we're going to make bool a fighter template game mode determine force palette swap. So time to mimic the logic. For determine match winner, we have to check the active characters, so active team 1 character, and see if they've already won the correct number of rounds. So if active team 1 character, it's called rounds 1, is greater than or equal to num rounds, this is the game mode variable, then we can call match win or win match on the active team 1 character. And we can return index 0 to represent player 1. Team 1 has won the match. Now note that this is active team 1 character checking their num rounds. It's not technically checking the team's num rounds. So there's some logic to update there where it's not just the active character that's having their number of rounds updated. It should be the entire team has their number of rounds updated. But since we're just copying over the logic, this is fine for now. And then we can do if active team 2 character rounds 1 is greater than or equal to num rounds. And this is going to be the exact same thing, just for a different index here. So fix this up. Team 2 has won the match. Active team 2 character win match, and we're going to return index 1 to represent team 2. If neither of these go through, then we won't have returned from the function yet, so we can just simply return -1 at the end of this function. And we can put a comment here. No team has won the match. Perfect. And then now we have determine force palette swap. So for this one, we want to check and see if active team 1 character get character class equals active team 2 character get character class. So if they are both the same character, we can go in here and check if they're both the same skin index, or basically the same outfit, however you want to think of that. And we could do another if statement like we were in the blueprint, but actually I'm just going to enter down here. I'm still within the if statement. You see this is the closing parenthesis of the if statement. I'm just going to check their skin index in here. So active team 1 character skin index, which we don't have a way to get this yet. So we'll need get skin index equals active team 2 character get skin index. So if both the class and the skin index is the same, we're going to return true. Otherwise, we're going to return false. And we don't have to put this in an else or anything, because if we're returning true out of the function, we're never going to hit this. So if we go into this condition, we'll return true, and that will be all that we need to do. So now if we go back to fighter template character.h and scroll down this file to where we have our getters and setters, which for me are all the way at the bottom. I want to make a getter. So get the character's skin index. So I'm calling it a skin instead of an outfit because I want there to be a skin, which is really like the palette, and then an outfit, which is going to be what they're wearing or the accessories that they have. So I'm going to actually do this like skin slash, or in parentheses, like palette index. This should make it pretty clear. And it is an integer. So int get palette index. Call it. I think palette is probably what we should be calling it. So let me do get the character's palette in parentheses skin index. And we can inline this. So this is a getter. So we can simply int get palette index const. And in here, the logic we want to do is return skin index. And now we can go into our fighter template GameMode.cpp and make sure we're calling this get palette index function, and just make sure it lines up for active team 1 character and active team 2 character. Now to really make this consistent, I want to not use skin index, but actually rename this variable to palette index. So I will change the wording here. So the current palette, in parentheses, skin of the character. And then I'll rename this to palette index. Then anywhere that skin index is used, which in the header file is just going to be in this getter, I will replace it. And then anywhere it is used in the CPP of the character, I will replace it as well, which best way to check for this is just Control F and search. We mainly use it in the blueprints, so there will probably be a few errors when we are trying to access that, but that's perfectly fine. So now we have our skin index changed to palette index. We have our game mode set up to search for these things. And we're almost good to go, but I caught one more thing here. I am returning a boolean from determine match winner when I should be returning an integer. So apologies for that. Determine match winner is an integer. Make sure you change it in the header file as well. Int determine match winner. Another mistake I made while I'm in here already fixing this from integer. I see this purple line is telling me you're being silly. And I was. It's not U property, it's U function. I'm not setting up a variable, I'm setting up a function. So make sure it looks like this. U function blueprint callable, int determine match winner, U function blueprint callable, bool determine force palette swap. But at this point we are ready to launch the editor. Now that the editor is back open, we go back into our default game mode BP, and you'll see that we have errors from our determine match winner since the function already exists in the blueprint. At this point, we can just go ahead and delete it. It's going to prompt us and ask us if we are sure we want to delete it since it is in use, and we're going to hit yes, and then compile and save. And we won't get any more issues in this class. But now if we try and run our game, we will have a few errors. So let's open all the errored blueprints. Specifically, it is our base character BP, anim BP, and our mutant BP. So we'll go to them starting with our base character BP. So if we come in here and compile and save, it will show us the errors that we have. So we can click on them to go to them. These ones are actually related to the skin index and palette index, which we are going to fix, but let's fix the one in the animation blueprint that is tied to determine match winner first. So it brings us to this event when we are ready to finish a round, and we're determining if we need to set the characters up for the round win animation or round loss animation or whatever the case may be. And here we were calling determine match winner. So at this point, these functions aren't really the same. This is trying to call the blueprint function, but we can just get rid of this, remove this node, and instead we will replace it with the code function and make sure we replace all of the nodes that go into the greater than here. So if we just search for determine match winner, we'll get the code version now, and we just have to plug it back in like it was. So the integer return into the greater than, then the execution node into the next node. At that point, we are actually good in the animation blueprint, so we can close out of this. At this point, we're going into our mutant BP, and we'll see that the issues are the same as the base character BP with skin index, so we'll fix them up. So in base character BP, we have this event character change skin, and this is just changing the actual palette for our character, so it's not skin index anymore that we're setting, it's palette index. So we just have to replace that variable with set palette index, connect the execution pins, and then connect the integer values. So make sure you set the variable and then you use it in the switch statement. The next one is when we are damaged and change materials based off of that. And we're doing the same thing here. We're using the skin index here, but this now should be the palette index. So just remove that skin index and get palette index and place it where skin index was. And you can compile and save after this. It should compile successfully. And then we want to check out our mutant BP and any other children character blueprints that we have. And we have to go to these events that we set up for our X attacks, or basically special effects that we have for our special attacks. And we're using skin index here for these switch statements as well. We want to make sure we're using palette index for both of these. Now we should be able to compile and save this, and when we do, we can go back to our default game mode BP, because we also want to swap out that determine force adjust palette, so we can just go into the function and just remove it. We're going to be using our code function now, which is determine force swap palette. So same deal as before, we want to remove the old function. This is in the level streamed in, or basically when we start our game mode BP or change levels. So we're going to come in here, we're going to see where we're calling the previous function for adjusting the palette. We're going to remove it, and instead we're going to add our new code function for this. Make sure to plug it in the same way. Execution pins and the return boolean should go to where the other return boolean was going. Once you've done this, you're good to go. Compile and save, and everything should work as expected. I hope this video helped you clean up your game mode even more, convert some functions from blueprints to code, and add some helpful functions and getters that we didn't have previously. I consider this much cleaner and better than our previous implementation, so I'm very happy about that. If you're interested in supporting myself and the channel, you can do so by checking out the Patreon memberships, YouTube memberships, and Discord memberships. Not only does it benefit the channel, but it lets me know that you're interested in receiving these benefits and in the series, so thank you so much for all of those who have. If you guys ran into any issues following this episode or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. That's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.